Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2022. This is episode number 16. We've proceeded about 2 weeks. We are almost into games for the season. And surprise, surprise, we have succeeded. Darius Q, the big time recruit, the guy hovering between 3 and 4 stars, he's picked us. Yeah, he's committed. Verbally. But he has committed. Holy crap, we got him. We got Darius Q. Looks like a couple other guys have gone elsewhere, but currently rated as 3-star player, Darius Q. I mean, this is absolutely huge. We were number 2 on his list. We've gone up to number 1. I was telling you that you can find so much success, especially with mid-level players, when you're the only one giving them offers, right? When they don't have the biggest teams in the country all going for them. But Darius Q, yeah, that is huge. That is huge. I mean, look at this. High-level defense, shoots inside, outside. High-level scorer. I mean, this guy is going to be scoring at our level probably like 20 points a night. High teens at the least. Strong passing, the ball handling, there's going to be some turnovers. He's not very athletic. There's reasons why big teams didn't want to go after him. His ranking has dropped as a result. He was up around number 100, but he's dropped to 138. But for us, I mean, there's 300 plus schools. 300 plus schools. And the top schools are going to get the majority of the top picks. It's not like there's one per school. You don't get one big pick and then you go on down from there. Or one big commit, that is. So to get something within that window that would be the top 50% of the first player gone. What? I mean, huge. So excited. This guy is going to be massive for us. Now, he's not a big power forward at 6'6", but 230, he's got a little size to him. He'll be able to play. He could easily fit in as a small forward if necessary, especially with a good outside shot. But wow, I'm so excited. We've had nothing but a couple 1-star recruits until now, and we get the biggest player in the state for the year. Tear, multiple gushing. No, okay, not quite, but I am really excited by this. Just a reminder that our schedule was insane for this season. 12 out of 15 games are on the road, and honestly, it's where we belong. I was telling you a couple episodes back, right? The way scheduling works is if you are a small school, you're going to have to go play on the road at the larger conference schools in those non-conference matchups. Your conference schedule is going to be balanced 50-50. We don't have a conference. So realistically, as a team with a very, very small profile, we really should only have a few home games in our non-conference schedule. So this feels way more accurate than what you would get otherwise. But anyway, it's going to be tough. With this many road games, it's going to be really tough to get very many wins at all along the way. So we are going to need to be at our best to pull off those upset victories, which would come with a really big boost to the net ranking. We don't necessarily need to win even as many games as we won last season. Remember, one of the teams that went up had a worse record than we did, but they had a higher net ranking. So that net rank is what really matters. And you're going to get a better scoring by winning a few road games than you are by winning a few home games. There's a better value to that. So we might not have a great record this season, but if we do win enough of these road games, if we do get at least a few wins on the road, and if we're able to take care of business at home, let's say we go 6-9, you better believe our net ranking will be pretty decent. So that's the target. win at home and get at least a few wins on the road. To do that, we're going to have to go with a pretty strong lineup. Great news is I actually have some decent options this year. We'll look very early on in the season to see how we're doing and start to make some adjustments on minutes if we need to. But I'm going primarily with a big six getting the bulk of the minutes, plus two guys getting a decent share of minutes, and then just 4 minutes all the way down to Ben Gross. DePina, after redshirting last year, redshirt freshman, I want to get him some time, but it's only 10 minutes a game as he doesn't look to be great. The other transfer that we got in, the point guard transfer, playing what's necessary with 12 minutes, but Dyer, he's going to get the bulk of the time, 28 minutes for him. Kenny Moore wasn't great off the bench for us really last year, so he's getting the least amount of minutes out of my top 6 guys, but at 26 minutes, he's still getting the bulk, and that's because we need to win some games this season. And as much as I want to build for a Tyson DePina, this season I want to get us up into that Conference V. We need to get to a place where we're going to be playing against teams that are our level, and we can afford to shave off a couple more minutes while surviving. Where here, we're going to be overmatched game after game after game, so we're going to need some big results. It's tricky on how that one works, because if you find yourself overmatched, that's a great time to get your prospects some minutes and let the blowout get worse. It's not going to matter much, or will it? How does that impact your net rankings? Performance is part of how all of that works anyway. Davis, Wallace, McIntyre, and then Samuels. Those 4 players are sharing all of the minutes at 3 positions. So I've got a rotation in place here where you can see we start with Davis, Wallace, McIntyre. After 4 minutes, Samuels starts to make his way through rotating those 3 guys out. So he's got 4 minutes at center, 4 minutes at power forward, 4 minutes at small forward, with those guys all sitting for a little bit. And then back to the original trio to finish out the last 4 minutes of the half. Second half, I've got him starting. So we're doing that rotation a little bit earlier on. 4 minutes at center, 4 minutes at power forward. Short rest, a couple minutes out. Then 4 minutes at small forward, a couple more minutes out. And then I've actually got him finishing, as technically he is definitely a better option than McIntyre is. So McIntyre backing off a little bit, getting the share of minutes. So instead of 32, 32, 32, and 24 for Samuels, we got him up, bumped him up to 28 with McIntyre, and then 32 for these 2 guys. Davis, I think if I'm going to make any changes, bumping out a couple more minutes away from Davis and giving them 2 Samuels as we go on, maybe even going as far. We'll see how the early numbers go. But starting Samuels at small forward, so he can technically get the starts so he doesn't turn around and transfer on us, as he's already transferred twice. That was not his first time entering the transfer portal. It was his second time entering the transfer portal. Ouch. He went to a small school, started every game, went to a bigger school, sat on the bench, and decided to transfer again. I think he felt he wants to start, so we are going to have to make sure we're going to get him some starts. Also, through these 2 weeks of practice that we just had, he's already been involved in 2 incidents and has arrived late. And yet when you look at him as a player, only part of it makes sense. He's very durable. He has good work ethic, not great, but good. Doesn't care about playing time. Popularity is just average. Personality, this is where it makes sense. He is a disruptive force. Okay, he's going to create some problems. But 3 problems in 2 weeks? I mean, that's insane. Considering that he has good work ethic, right? He shouldn't be showing up late to practice if he has good work ethic. Having a personality that is a disruptive force means he's going to get into it with some of his teammates, and that's understandable and expected. And I might have to just kind of look the other way with him a little bit, though he might force others to transfer out, which sucks. But if we can keep him for his senior year, I mean, we do have Rodney Wallace, who is a senior. He's going to be on his way out. I'd like to have Samuels for next year to go with Darius Q, right? Those two guys playing side by side next season. There's your replacement for Rodney Wallace right off the bat. Wade Dyer's only a junior, so we'll still have him for next season. Kenny Moore is a senior, but he seems fairly replaceable. I mean, he's not great. If you get development out of DePina or Gross, I think we have in-house replacement in place for those guys. The only other seniors, Joey Davis, okay, he might be missed. Rodney Wallace, Chris Morton, there is going to be some guys to replace. We've had a difficult time in recruiting, but of course we have that transfer portal that we're already seeing is a way to get better players than we're able to get through, or have been able to get through recruiting until now. We're only going to get that one strong player this year, but regardless, the transfer portal, I should be able to find some guys, a strong small forward or a shooting guard to replace them. I like our odds of being as good, if not better, next season as we're looking to be this season. The only thing is we've got to get some wins with a crazy hard schedule. Speaking of, let's go ahead and get started on that schedule. And the season's ready to tip off. We are on the road. On the road, of course, as we're going to be most of the season. It's Daytona Beach who we play, and we open this game with a three-pointer right off the bat, so very quick start on that one. And we've got an early 5-2 lead, but of course that could very quickly go either way. One thing about this season that I'm hoping for is I have slowly built up a better defense than we've had in our first two seasons. It's still not good. It's still a bunch of players in their 20s, mid-20s in terms of that defensive rating, which is still quite low, but it's not a bunch of players in their teens. It's a bunch of players in their 20s, and it's definitely a few points higher, where I'd say our starting five averaged probably 18 to 20 a season ago. Our starting five is averaging about a 24 in their defensive rating now, and that's still bad, but for our level, that's something. And we've got an early start on this one where we are pulling out ahead. At the moment, it's 17-10. We've already led by as much as 9 points in this one, though at the moment, after they've had a couple straight scores, they did cut that gap back down, but a three-pointer there stretches that lead back out, and we're approaching the midway point of the first half. I did go in and have to change the depth chart again. One key reason for it, I didn't make substantial changes, but I did make some changes. That the reason that triggered that I had to rebuild that depth chart is I got to the deadline to assign red shirts, and looking through the roster, there was one player that it made perfect sense to redshirt this season, as he was only assigned garbage time and nothing else, and that was Jermaine Babel. Babel was the one guy we were able to recruit last season, true freshman with some potential and some okay current ability. If he was only going to get garbage time and nothing else, for me it made a little bit of sense, as momentarily we stretched our lead to double digits there, though they have closed it back in, and that may be a good time to take a timeout, but we did get to the free throw line and get the points we needed to get back up to 10 points there, at least momentarily. We're not really stretching the lead here, but this is big. This is big, being on the road here in the opening game and holding, for the most part, the lead you need to keep close to a 10-point advantage anyway. Anyway, Babel, we decided to redshirt him, and only one. You can redshirt two players each season, but we only opted for one this year because really the only other candidate to redshirt, as most of the young guys have redshirted at one point, and big halftime move there. Daytona Beach gets the last 2 buckets of the half and closes it back down to a 4-point game. Little momentum gained there. Luckily, halftime comes along and kind of helps us recover from that. 75% from the field in the first half. That is picking your shots. But as always, fouls. 15 fouls for us. And lots of foul trouble in the starting five. In fact, all of them have picked up at least one foul. McIntyre and Dyer both on 3. Moore and Wallace on 2. Samuel's the one who's been disciplined and has stayed out of trouble. That limiting the minutes of both Dyer and McIntyre, which means, look at this, our bench has played more minutes. Davis, Morton, of course Davis is always going to play a lot of minutes, but he has 2 fouls as well. So our 6 key guys are averaging more than 2 fouls apiece through the first half. That's the big concern about the second half, and that would be why most likely they were able to get those couple easy buckets right before the halftime. But you're already seeing guys that aren't even supposed to play. Holcomb, not supposed to play at all. He's played 4 minutes. Gross. Newton's not supposed to play. He's played 3 minutes. Depina shouldn't have had quite that many. I think he should have had about 4 minutes, so he's had a couple extra. Kalakatronis definitely should not be playing 13. Morton, I did add some minutes to him, so I did change things up a little bit to get Morton 6 to 8 minutes a game. Depina at 10. I've got Kalakatronis at 10. And then you have your 6 guys. 6 guys keying in, getting the bulk of the minutes. But I did take a couple more minutes off, shave it off, bring it down to nobody's above 30 a night. Wallace is at that 30. I've got a bunch of guys at 28 or 26 in the starting 5. I just felt you have to give your depth a chance, otherwise you're really just going to screw yourself over long term for the sake of one season. And I do want to get back to Conference V, but I really don't want to lose my entire roster to do that. But of course, what I'm seeing short term is we are a transfer portal kind of team. So even if we do have to reshape every year, you have to reshape every year. The downside to doing that is you might get better talent coming in, but they're not going to know the system. So practice is going to be all about developing the system year after year, in which case you might have to simplify that system a little bit, and that's going to run you into problems. Develop one system, and anyway, there's some give and take to doing that. But as much as we are shooting lights out here, 18 of 24, they've had a few extra chances compared to us and are shooting over 50% as well. And then they've gotten to the free throw line almost twice as much as we have. They only 1 attempted 3-pointer, where we are 4 from 8 beyond the arc, but only 8 rebounds, 0 offensive. Not a huge deficit, but 0 offensive rebounds is hurting us just a little bit. 11 assists, though, a lot better than our mark from a year ago. Turnovers, -2. It's the fouls. It's the fouls that are keeping them in this game right now. Second half underway, and we're not off to a good start, as they've had 3 points here to open the half, and all of a sudden we have a 1-point game. In fact, we still have not scored, and they've taken the lead for the first time all game long, and I think we are very much in need. I tried to use my 30-second timeout, did not work. And we go again without scoring. This time we've been able to take it, and terrible start to the half. 3.5 minutes, and we have yet to score. Even after the timeout, it has done no good. We might have to burn our full here soon if we continue to not score. 5 minutes played, and no points in this half whatsoever. So our ice-cold finish to the half has gone straight into the second half. We did finally get a score on that last possession, but it took over 6 minutes to get on the board here in the second half. And after a fantastic start to the game, we absolutely fell apart. Since that time, though, in the last two minutes, we've scored another, 5 points? And got back in the lead for the first time. Well, first time in the second half, that is. Okay, full timeout. We need it desperately. We're down to 4 minutes here. Our chances of winning this game went down a lot with two lengthy stretches where we were not scoring. Otherwise, it's all us today. The fouls have definitely been the issue. We get better defenders, and it seems to make no difference. They are still struggling. I did not turn up the intensity. It's still down just a little bit. I know it's behind me, but the mouse should show you right underneath me about where we're located, and there's Max. So it is where I left off after I turned it down, noticing that we were having trouble. We have one timeout left. We're going to use it on our next possession here and take that timeout. 8-point game. We turned it over. That should do it. We are going to lose this one. We get the turnover. We get the quick bucket, but down 6. We couldn't afford the time that was lost on that one. Eventually, we commit the foul. Intentional, I'm sure. Take it too long on the possession. Another quick bucket, but again, it only brought us back to within 6. And then we foul them anyway, giving things away. 2 stretches without scoring in the second half cost us that game. And of course, that last minute or so of the first half, a lot of that coming down to foul trouble. We had a ton of foul trouble today. Second half shooting, you can see the real trouble we were in. We had 31 attempts in the second half, which was a lot better than what we had in the first half. But our field goal percentage dropped drastically. We went from 75% down to 52% for the game. Free throws, we still were not getting to the line in the second half, and they were still getting to the line in the second half. Fouls, 26-15. Massive deficit. Turnovers also really, really hurting. So who had all those? Kalakatrotis, 6 turnovers for him. That's worrying. 5 fouls. Dyer fouled out. He only had 2 turnovers, though. So starting 5, playing well, if not for all those personal fouls. Majority came from there, other than Morton. Dyer leading us with 14 points, but he only had 4 in the second half. These guys getting nowhere near the expected minutes for the game. And the bench ended up with as much, if not more, minutes than the starters. Pina did pretty well in his first game for us. 3 for 4, 15 minutes, had an assist, a couple turnovers, but only 1 foul. And considering how everybody else was playing, not bad. Just a -1 for him. McIntyre played really well with a +8, but he only played 14 minutes and had 4 fouls. So no, that's really not playing well. Points in the paint, completely dominated. 40-24, 9-2 on the second chance points, 10-10 on the fast breaks. I think what this is not so much that we are that bad on defense. I think Daytona Beach was just that much better. We got off to a really quick start, and we held that nice lead. But their size, their ability eventually wore us down, and we were probably forced into a lot of those fouls against a significant size advantage. And that size advantage ultimately, even though we only were -1 on the rebounds, we battled, we fought, but that battling led to a lot of fouls. And that's where we got into trouble, because then we had to go down the depth chart. So we've got an okay first 5, but going against teams that are significantly better on the road, these 5 can hang with guys, but to hang with them, they're committing a few too many fouls. And then that's putting us down the depth chart. And once we get down, we can't hang with this kind of team. So let's hope our next game is a little bit better, a little bit more closely matched. These guys are quite a ways up the rankings chart compared to us. So we hung with them for quite a while and didn't lose by much. Foul trouble is what got us in the end. Second game of the season is a win at Baltimore. So that's a huge win. Close. But yes, this team is capable if they can seemingly stay out of foul trouble. They are going to get some wins. There's already 1 road win this season. Darius Q has signed his letter of intent, so that is absolutely huge. He is locked in. He will be attending next year. He does not have the greatest GPA for high school. There's still the smallest chance we don't get SAT scores until I think January. But with a 2.6 GPA at our low standards, low SAT score required for our school, he should easily make it. I would worry about anybody about 2.4 and below, potentially, because college is supposed to be harder than high school in the U.S. anyway. Different universities, different schools grade differently. You have outstanding schools that are very, very tough, really, really hard classes, really hard professors, and you really have to be on it. You have schools that are high academic schools that care, that aren't necessarily the best, and grade super tough. I went to one of those. It's one of the better academic schools in the country, but it's definitely not in the top tier. That's the University of Oregon. But they are one of the toughest grading universities, in terms of reputation anyway, around the country. And I had a couple professors who were incredibly tough to get high grades on. Then you have universities that have low academic standards. Grading is super easy. Most of the students in a class get an A without having learned anywhere near what they learn at other schools. There are certain regions of the country that are very, very widely known for, if you're not good with your grades, you want to go to one of these schools, and your athletic performance is going to be valued much more than your academic performance. Or you can go to some major schools that are the total opposite. Stanford might value athletics, but they value academics a whole lot more. Just as one example. Back to the point though, high school standards are different than collegiate standards, and there's virtually always a drop off. Whatever GPA you had for a high school as a comparison is going to get you an idea that lower high school GPA means lower SAT score means lower GPA once you get into college. That tends to trend. It does scale down. 4.0 in high school is not that hard to achieve. But if you're getting a 4.0 in high school, you're not getting a 2.0 in college. You're going to have probably better than a 3. Anyway, Game 3 of the season has us playing at UC San Diego, and UC San Diego is a great test for us because it is a Conference V opponent, meaning it's that last conference, the conference we were in our first season, that we're hoping to be back into next season. So this would really show where this team is compared to our first year team, the team we inherited. Have we grabbed decent players in the transfer portal, hanging on to Wallace, of course, who was always the best player even then, certainly helps with that. But have we gained decent players out of the transfer portal? I would like to find out from this one. We only won, a couple road games in Conference V in that opening season. And then we're just barely relegated via tie. I mean, we had enough wins to stay up, but the tie was broken and we were the losing end of that tiebreaker to get relegated, to get out of Conference V. This would really show how we compare in terms of the odds heading into this one. 50-50. UC San Diego have only played one game so far this season, and they won it, so they are 1-0. They were at home, and they're home again for this one. So we'll see how we perform here after a very strong start where we had a nice early lead. UC San Diego did gain some momentum and get back into it, but we have recovered that and restored our lead. Not as big as it once was, but we have played a quarter of this game so far, and we lead 18-13. Dyer already with 7 points. Samuels has 4, though just 2 of 6 shooting for him, and no rebounds at this point, as he's the one making kind of that shift in terms of positions. Rebounds have not favored us, but if we are shooting better than our opposition, that's bound to happen. But we're not. We're shooting 36% from the field. They're shooting 35% from the field. We have had some more attempts. Turnovers, much better for us. We are taking care of the ball so much better than they are, 2-8 in the turnover department. We've actually attempted more free throws than they have at this point, but that's not to say that we won't get into foul trouble and then start putting them on the line. That's where things tend to go for us. Right now, though, we have been playing balanced, even. Neither team having any momentum to speak of. It's a tight contest here in the first half. Balanced scoring here with 4 points, couple buckets for each guys on the court, besides Dyer, who finally got his 9th after he had that quick start. And as we approach half here with just over a minute to go, we trail by just 2 points. We'll get a look at how things are trending there at half, but let's take that quick timeout, or not take that quick timeout. I tried to take the quick timeout, but I think I grabbed it at the wrong time. It's hard when you're playing quick. You gotta slow things down a little bit, but for the sake of how monumental our task is of getting from literally independent status, not even in the 22 tiers, up through the 22 tiers, we have to get through a lot of seasons. Therefore, it's going to have more to do with long-term recruiting, long-term strategies, as opposed to individual games. Making decisions in individual games absolutely can impact that individual game. A smoothly, correctly timed timeout can make an absolute huge difference on momentum. Changing tactics when necessary can have an impact. Yes, I can get in and impact games more directly than I do, but that's only going to impact short term. We need to be focused more on the long term longevity of the series. So already playing 2 games in the first 3 of the season, don't expect me to continue that trend. Dyer leading the way with 12 points. Fouls, McIntyre in trouble with 3, but if you're going to have somebody in your starting 5 in foul trouble, that's the most reasonable one, because you have Morton behind him, you have Holcomb behind him that can step in and play, and there's not much of a drop-off at that position as there are elsewhere. Davis in his 11 minutes, this is actually looking much like it should in terms of minutes distribution. I think that's helping a lot, but we're not having the best shooting day. Samuel's just 2 of 9. Remember when we looked at Samuel's? High volume, but not great at converting shots. That goes to show right there. He's attempted 9, which is more than anybody else, but he's only made 2 of them. He's not great inside or outside in his shooting compared to some of these other players on the team. And as a result, we're shooting 40% from the field, where they are shooting 58%. They've made 1 shot more than we have, even though we've had 8 additional attempts. We've had 10 3-pointers, but we've only made 3. They've only had 4, but they made 3. Free throws are very similar. Rebounds, -6. Not looking good in very many departments. The one thing, honestly, that's keeping us in the game is that we haven't been committing fouls in the way we have others. The turnovers, a big boost, but we've only had 4 fast break points. They've had 4 fast break points. So we haven't turned those into quick scores. We've turned it into additional shots, though, and we've needed them because we're not shooting well. Points in the paint, another place we're just getting hammered in. I don't know what it is about us that is a problem, because we should be good in the post with 3 guys sharing the load in there and all being decent defense. Well, McIntyre is not that great of a defender. Maybe he's the problem, but I don't know. I have to explore that one maybe a little more in detail once we get about 5 or 6 games in and see if I need to make a change. Is McIntyre holding us back? Is it somebody else? Is Samuels the one holding us back with this terrible conversion rate on a high volume of shooting? Could be. We open the second half with a 3-pointer, but then they go and make their next 2 shots, 3 shots And just like that, we're down by 7. As they've had a, mini little 7-0 run. Nice score there, and that momentum gets even better. For the first time we see it, not just in the red, but some actual momentum. And then they get one big score and the ball back. Not sure how that one played out. Might have been an and one situation, and they got the rebound, which led to a second possession. Either way, that completely shifted the momentum very, very quickly on that one. Missed three-pointer. I think we need to spend a timeout here before things get worrying. We had all that momentum, and here we are going ice cold. This is a team that, at times, is not going to shoot well at all. Samuel's only one attempted field goal here in this half. Probably a good thing for us. Inside, did we even finish that? I think we did. McIntyre now sitting on 9 points. Leading scorer on the court for us. Until Wade Dyer gets back on. He's sitting with 22 points, 8 of 11. He was 5 of 5 in the first half. Not as on it in the second half as he was in the first, but he's still playing well. We will slow things down, I think, for the last 5 minutes as we are tight in this game. But very, very quick run there with back-to-back-to-back buckets for UC San Diego, and suddenly we were down a bit. Three-pointer, though, helps close that gap back to within 5. Another field goal, and we're back within 3. But they get a three-pointer every time as we're going to close that gap. They're getting the timely buckets. They have not had any of these stretches where they're not scoring like we've had to go through. We've had a couple of these. Not quite as bad as that season opener, but bad enough. And we trail by 4 with 3 minutes to play. Running the high post, draw the foul, get to the line, and we're back within 5. Close range from the block, easy two-pointer, wide open, as we messed up the defensive positioning on that one. Running the 1-3-1 zone at the moment. And again, they find some space inside. We're not running that 1-3-1 zone terribly well at the moment. Huge three-pointer there. Corey Moore, now double digits on the day. That is going to keep us alive here with a minute 45, just 3-point game. Still running the 1-3-1, though, which has not been working. To stop that clock. Down by 4. Slow this thing down. We've got timeouts. Huge 3, 1-point game. Full timeout, full timeout. Here we go. Oh, come on. We didn't even get the shot off. We used the timeout. There should have been enough time to get a shot off. Even with it slowed down, there should have been enough time to get the shot off. They only got 1 of 2 from the free throws, giving us every chance to send this thing to overtime or maybe even get a game winner. And we only got as far as inbounding the ball, and the clock ran out. We used the timeout. We advanced the ball. We have players wide open to shoot. And instead of getting it in and taking the shot, if you're literally down to a split second, I thought we had 3 to 4 seconds on the clock to try to do something. But the timing didn't work out for us. Did not work out for us. Wow. Down late, and we battle back, and then only to have that happen. So disappointing. Also disappointing in the AI that the 1-3-1 was not working defensively. They were getting repeated scores, and we stuck with the 1-3-1 zone when they were beating it. You got to switch that up. Field goal attempts went up for them a lot in the second half. They closed that gap on us. They shot 60% from the field. Hudson off the bench, 7 for 7. Edwards was 8 of 15. Yikes. But yeah, that 7 of 7 off the bench, 16 points, that was huge. 3 guys scoring 16 plus points for them. Free throws, we actually had an advantage for a change. And, looking at this, we're on the road. we had those couple stretches where we weren't scoring, but fouls, that was better. It was balanced, 19 apiece. Turnovers definitely favored us. We protected the ball well. We just didn't shoot well. 45% actually is not that bad. It has more to do with the fact that they shot so well. Hudson in particular, perfect from the field. Dyer, 8 for 12. Samuels, better in the second half. He was 2 for 9 in the first, 1 for 2 in the second half. Smarter, and it was important because it was a 3-pointer, the one he made in the second half. Only 8 points though, definitely hurts when you have a guy taking so many shots and not scoring. Morton having to play a little bit too much, as McIntyre did have some foul trouble. So that hurts your defense a little bit, where you have Morton out there instead of McIntyre. McIntyre's not that great at defense anyway. But points in the paint, massive advantage, 36-8. Assistant coach has been hard at work and found success yet again. Remember, Darius Q was somebody who was not interested in us at all. And for the first time in 3 seasons, our assistant coach took somebody from no interest to cool. We did the rest of the work from there to get Darius Q to sign, who, by the way, is now back to a 4-star evaluation. Though overall has gone from a B+ to a B, so actually he looks like less of a player than he did, but his ranking is back up to 104. Huge steal for us. But anyway, we only have one other 2-star player remaining in the talent pool, and that's John Callaway. But from there, we have now added interest in which one is it? Kyle Best, I think. Yes, because I had the 2 centers and a small forward. So Kyle Best, point guard, is now interested in us. So our assistant manager has achieved a success here by getting one of these guys who is not interested to now be cool. He got through to them, and that's a big step for us. For me, Callaway is the one that I've been working on week after week, trying to get him still not on that. It's a lot easier to talk to these guys and get info out of them than it is to get somebody who doesn't want to talk to you to be interested enough to hear what you have to say. As a player who we couldn't get to talk to us, now that he is, first week, I mean, we've only used 25% of our time on him, and we've already got the playing close to home matters to me info out of him. And then from there, I work about parents. We got that one with just 10% more used. And then interest in our school is the third one that I go after. So that's the path that I follow in trying to get these guys to tell us a little bit about them. Okay, so we are 5 games into the season, and we are just 1-4. We've lost 3 in a row. We are -10 on our points per game versus the opposition's points per game. Yeah, it's not going so great. But here's the thing. Our net rank, still 277. All 5 games have been on the road. You win on the road, and it is a massive boost to your net rank. Massive. So for us, even though we have 12 games on the road this season, for one thing, we've played 5 of them already, so we only have 7 road games left, and we have 3 home games the rest of the way. That's going to help our chances a little bit of getting something. A bit. We have a mixture of really tough games and some easier games. I have a couple things to do. You can see that Wade Dyer is not happy, and he's a junior, and Jose McIntyre is not happy, and he's a junior. I need to start getting in and talking to those guys, giving them a little bit of praise for their efforts this season to help boost that morale. But meanwhile, Rodney Wallace just picked up an injury, a sore hip. It's going to last 1 week. He's at 90%, meaning he's actually still capable of playing. He can play through the injury. He's just going to be 10% less effective, which obviously is not going to help our cause any. He's getting 6 points per game. He's not much of a scorer, but 4.5 rebounds a game, I believe, is the team lead. Well, let's go ahead and take our first comparison of where we're at versus the other teams in the independent conference. Remember, 4 out of 6 go up, so only 2 teams stay put. Delaware State somehow is 4-1. They've played 3 games at home. Their net rank is really high right now. So is Chicago State, even though they're 2-2. Not sure how either of those have pulled off that masterpiece. But then you're looking at 4 teams battling it out for 2 spots. Prairie View, their net is 251. We are 277. And Alcorn State and Florida A&M, with pretty poor records, have low net rankings. You could see that Alcorn State, they've played 3 times at home. They're 1-2. Florida A&M have played 3 times at home. They are 0-3, and their net rankings are both very much near the bottom overall. So, 5 games on the road, even though it's only 1 win, is still a huge boost to that net ranking. You could see with the Prairie View thing, if we win another game, you could see us jumping ahead of them in the net rankings. Like I said, if we take 3 on the road, I think we're going to be just fine. If we take 2 out of 3 at home, even though it's only 5 wins, 5-10 on this season, I think would be plenty. So not a whole lot of work left to do for us, even though we've only won 1 game so far. I think we are very capable of getting there, but an unhealthy key members like Rodney Wallace, that's not helping. We need those rebounds. We need that defense in the post. We're definitely struggling to, at least a couple games we've played firsthand, struggling to defend the post, and that's where the other teams are beating the snot out of us right now. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm going to be continuing on, moving forward quickly through the season. I think next episode we should be able to get through those 10 remaining games, and we don't need to play as many. Like I said, this is a long-term deal. We've seen where this team is for this season. Now we're going to let them kind of get through that, navigate that, and see if they can get those necessary wins. I'm a Decathlon gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.